I've been a patient here for about 8 years. I found Dr. Gao after trying to use other forms of medicine for a pain in my neck. Between physical therapy, medications, and chiropractic, I wasn't getting any relief. And I had done acupuncture in the past every once in a while, very, very infrequently. But I gave it a try, and the relief was almost instantaneous. So I've been consistently coming here for treatment for that pain, plus other various aging pains as they tend to bubble up. So it seems like a very nice place to be at. It's very calming. So it's just relaxing to be here.
Well, here I am, and we are laughing. Why? Because we have so much in common. One of the things is singing. So, Dr. Angela Gao, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Donna, for
Good.
having me on the show.
So I said to you, "Oh, do you have any musical talent?" And you said, "Yes." And I also. Okay, so tell me about that first, because that was fascinating.
Yeah, I used to, when I was a teenager, like any other teenagers, I used to want to be a pop star. So I had my fair share of interest in pop music, and I actually entered myself into a singing competition.
Wonderful. Yeah. While you were at Parsons?
Yeah, while I was in Parsons, I made it to the finalists in the East Coast in New York.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So martial arts, fine art, fashion design, singing. Well, I mean, but now acupuncture.
Yes.
Okay. So what you did is you wanted to, it was funny too, you were talking about fashion design and the fact that you had a label and everything, and that you used to work with needles, but now you use them in a different way.
Yes.
Why did you decide to become an acupuncturist?
I really, it was at the time that I wanted to do something for my own health, to improve my own health. As a lot of people might know, the fashion industry is high demand. You don't sleep much, especially if you work with overseas factories. You're pretty much pulling all-nighters a lot of time. So I wanted to do something for my own health, and also it was at the time in my life that I wanted to do something that meant more for me. Not just making people dress beautifully, but I feel like I want to offer more. I want to make people feel good from the inside to the outside. And I resorted back to my roots. I'm Chinese American, so I realized that Chinese medicine has helped me a lot when I was growing up. So I embarked on the journey to study Chinese medicine, and here I am now.
One of the things we talked about before we started was the yin and the yang, and how martial arts, fashion, acupuncture, it all kind of has this beautiful balance, right?
Yes.
The principles of balance.
Yes.
Is that what acupuncture helps you with?
Yes, primarily acupuncture, in short, it helps to balance your body.
Okay.
Psycho-emotionally, physically, and energetically. So one of the main reasons that people get sick is because your body is off balance. When you're off balance, your immune system starts to go down, and it can't protect you from external pathogens, or even nowadays there's a lot of autoimmune diseases which stems from internal imbalance. So acupuncture and Chinese medicine, the bigger umbrella, which includes herbal medicine and all sorts of other modalities and therapies, we help to restore that balance. So in the biomedicine perspective, it's basically returning your body back to homeostasis.
Okay. Now, is massage therapy very similar also? Like when you go get a foot massage and they're touching different points in your foot,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Is that the same kind of map that an acupuncturist would use, or similar?
Similar.
Okay.
So there are a lot of acupuncture points on the feet. So a lot of times patients come in with needle a lot of times on the feet. When you go through a foot massage, a lot of times it's based on reflexology.
Okay.
So there are reflexology in our ear and also in our feet. And those places reflect specific organs or areas in your body. So yes, if you do go for a foot massage, you'll receive the benefit of that as well. But slightly different than acupuncture, I would say, but a lot of it overlaps.
Okay, so acupuncture, when you're coming in and you're laying down, how do you know, doctor, where to start? You know, head to toe, fingertip to fingertip. I mean, like, how do you know?
So we start with any patient that come into our office. We start with a pretty thorough medical history first. We interview them. We ask them to bring their lab work, their charts, or their imaging results if it pertains to what they're coming in for. And we will start kind of going to a pretty in-depth interview about their lifestyle, their eating habits, their stressors, their environment. And we will go into detail about their chief complaint or if there's a secondary complaint. So what we're doing is trying to get a very holistic picture of what is happening to their body. We don't really look at things isolated in everyone's body. We look at it as a clockwork. Because if one thing is off in the clock, everything else, your time wouldn't be accurate.
Slips a little, right?
Yeah, everything slips a little bit, and over time, it's going to cause more delays. So we look at the body holistically, and a lot of times we could capture even problems that might not have a specific presentation yet, but we could capture that before it becomes a real problem. And
one of the things I was asking about too is fertility.
Oh, yes.
Does fertility fall into that category?
Yes.
It's like it's something that happened, but you don't even know that it's an issue until it's an issue.
Yes.
Okay. How can this help? How can acupuncture help?
So we treat a lot of, one of my specialties is actually fertility on top of pain management and other things that we treat here. Fertility, it's a popular popular area of discussion right now because there's an increasing number of infertility. There's increased maternal age, right? Everyone's busy, they have children later. So we see a lot of women where a lot of these could be prevented because when they're younger, there might be something off with their cycle. But because they don't really acknowledge it, let's say you're on the birth control or you don't have a regular period and you think that's normal. Later on in life, when you want to have a baby, it becomes an obstacle.
Okay.
So a lot of times when I see, especially younger clients, when they come in, if I already see that there's a potential that if this keeps going, they're gonna have fertility problems down the road, I try to give them my, opinion and recommendations on how to correct that while they're still young. So it prevents them from having trouble down the road.
It's interesting. I was reading a study the other day, and the average age for a female to get pregnant in the United States is now 27, which it keeps increasing by like a year.
Right.
But also, you're right, the longer one waits, because I believe is it around age 34 or 35,
Yes.
fertility might be, you might have the eggs, but it might not stick or something.
Once you surpass the age 35, you are considered high risk pregnancy if you're pregnant. There's a whole bunch of things that could come up and happen while during your pregnant stage. So things like gestational diabetes, high blood pressure, all sorts of complications could arise. And there's also studies showing that there's an increased amount of children that are born with autism. There's likely chance. So when someone that's in the fertile age that comes to our practice and they're treating for fertility, we have different methods. So let's say if it's someone that's going through an IVF cycle, then we work with them on their cycle. We work with the calendar they're working with. We do specific protocols to stimulate, let's say if they have egg quality issue or number issue, right? They're not retrieving enough eggs. We focus on stimulating their body so that their body produces more quality eggs. So when it's time for retrieval, they have a better chance of retrieving more eggs, which means a better success rate.
You were talking about pain management, both migraines, right? But also like, you recently, can we just say? Do you mind?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
you yourself had an injury, right? What happened, doctor? Right?
Myself, I had a freak accident.
Okay.
I have one of those self-balancing devices. I won't name any names.
Okay, that's fine.
It's one of those self-balancing devices I have for years.
Okay.
It was a freak accident. I think it kind of stopped operating properly, so it took me off my balance and I fell.
Okay, and you broke your?
I broke my tibia, my right tibia bone.
But you didn't do surgery?
No.
You were able to heal?
Yes.
Okay.
I was actually pretty surprised in the emergency room because I thought there would be other options available, but the only option that was given, and they said that any other patient that comes into the door, they would do the same operation, and that is to basically put a rod, entire rod, that's the length of my tibia bone, down my entire inside of my tibia. They would have to go behind my patella, which is your kneecap, and drill it down through the marrow to the bottom of the bone. And they would have to put 2 screws on the outside. So me being a holistic medicine doctor, I quickly started researching options and researching, just things that you could do for a broken bone. And I realized mine wasn't that displaced, or it wasn't really out, and I don't have any open wound. And I thank God to my surgeon, who's very open-minded about
You're like, can I try?
acupuncture. Yeah. So at first they're like, no one ever does this. But he was great. He was very open-minded. He said there's actually a study that showed that there's 95% chance of recovery. So it's like, why don't we give this a shot? Try it. If it doesn't work out, I could do the surgery, but I'd rather not have any plates or metals in my body. And I stuck to it, and we put a cast on my leg for almost 4 months, 3.5 months. And I did acupuncture whenever I can. I was in his office, and every time he changed out the cast, I would put needles. We have laser therapy, we have e-stem. I threw the kitchen sink on my leg.
Right. Yeah, good for you.
Everything we do in our practice, I threw on my leg. I drank about a month or 2 months of herbal therapy, Chinese herbal decoction. I put plaster paste over my leg. I did everything.
You did everything.
And my leg, I would say, that never swelled up to like,
Right.
it never really swelled up. It was pretty good. And I'm able to walk now.
Congratulations. Well, I like the fact that you're empathetic. One of the things after talking to some of the people here earlier in the green room was like, that you're very empathetic and you're caring and you're warm and, gracious. And, I think that when someone's going to try, this type of treatment,
Right.
sometimes they're a little apprehensive,
Right.
But you make them at ease.
I try my best because, people a lot of times we've had patients who come here as a last resort. They've exhausted all other options.
Right. They're like, okay, let me try that.
And they can't find relief. And they came here, they're like, okay, I have friends who does this, and they tell me to come here. I'll give it a shot.
I had an MRI and I was diagnosed with severe spinal stenosis. The recommendation was to put a steel rod in my back to separate my spinal cord from my backbone. I chose not to do that. I've been pain-free. That was the biggest price I had to pay for opting out of the surgery. I was in pain all the time. Allergies, I'm gonna be 84 years old. Yeah. I've never in my life had an allergy. This year, allergies. There have been many things that I have come with other aches and pains, and I walk out of here pain-free. I just walk out of here feeling uplifted. It's a spiritual thing too. It really is. As I said, I'm old. I've lived in Hunterdon County my entire life. And as long as I have breath, I will be coming here for acupuncture.
And oftentimes they finish their first treatment and they're like, oh, I wish I came here earlier. And I tell them the same thing as I wish you came here years earlier so you don't have to be where you are now, because we could do so much. And I would take this personal experience by breaking my leg. I learned a lot about bone healing and what to do without surgery. So I'm hoping that I could bring this and shed some light on patients who might be going through the same thing, or they could be going through a post-surgery operation, so I could help them a little more.
It's beautiful, beautiful thoughts. I thank you for inviting us here.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed our time. I got to learn a little bit about you. We laughed a lot, which is great. And I think that your heart is in the right place. You just want to help.
you.
So it's
Thank
so
you.
nice to be here with you.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
I hope to share this medicine with more people and educate them more about how we can help them. So, yeah.
I have tried this before in the past. I was in a really bad car accident years ago and I couldn't raise my arm above my head. Okay, I had limited mobility and it helped me very much. So if you're in pain or if you think that you might want to try this, please, I highly recommend it, and be well.
I started coming to see Dr. Gao about 4 years ago, and while she's helped me with a number of issues, the one I'm most grateful for is the assistance she provides with my migraines. I have had migraines most of my life, but over the last 5 years, they've gotten much worse. and my insurance company won't approve the medication that helps. So I'm medically left with a prescription that doesn't quite cut it. 2 weeks ago, I came to Dr. Gao after 3 days of being maxed out on my meds by 10 a.m. So I had a headache on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And after my treatment on Wednesday evening, I woke up on Thursday pain-free. And I'm absolutely sure that it was Dr. Gao who was able to finally break me through to get some relief.